Feeling overwhelmed, stuck, and hopeless about the future? In today's episode, we dive into the real struggles of menopause and how to overcome them. We'll share personal stories and practical advice to help you reclaim your well-being and thrive. Ready to transform your life? Join us now in the Menowave Lounge and start your journey to a brighter, more confident you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. I'm Coach Robin, and this is Coach Marti.
Hi.
Today, we are having a conversation around breakthroughs into a thriving new future. What does that look like for you? Are you stuck in your menopause journey? Are there fears that are coming up for you? Do you need a mindset shift? These are things that we're going to be talking about today, is how to get unstuck. What do you think, Marti?
I think for most of us, we go through, we start out in our life and we have this idea of where we want it to go, right? And what we want to accomplish or who we want to be. And we're going to talk about that and how we want to feel. And what I'm seeing in the group, and I'm sure you are too, is I'm seeing a lot of women when they reach this midlife stage, when our hormones start to shift and our bodies start to feel different. I'm seeing a lot of women who are feeling hopeless. They're feeling defeated. They're so frightened of the future. They can't even really imagine what a future would look like for them. I like to ask women, like, how do you want the next 30, 40, 50 years of your life to go? What do you see with yourself? How do you want to be? And it's sad when I hear them say, well, I have no comprehension. I can't even think that far ahead. I'm too scared. I'm afraid. I don't feel good. I feel like I'm dying. All of the stuff of right now. And when we get into that mode, we lose sight of the future. And we're just kind of perpetually stuck in this churning of stress, of low confidence, of not feeling good. And if we're not careful, it's really, really hard to get ourselves out of it. So what I wanted to come in and talk about today was taking a look at where we are and how we're feeling right now in this stage of our life, and comparing it to where we want to be and what do we want to see or experience going forward, and kind of look at where's the mismatch, like what is standing in the way of taking us from where we are today to where we want to be or how we want to be in the future.
Yeah, that's definitely a really big topic, because we're not only talking about the physical side of things, but we're talking about the emotional side. We're talking about our belief systems around our identity of who we are. Mm-hmm. And our belief systems, as you know, can either work for us, protect us, or they're not doing anything for us. And they can lead us to feeling stuck and lonely and fearful. There's a lot of things that can produce that fear. And these are things that circle around in our head. And we think that there's just no way out, that this is the way that life is going to be for us now that we're in this journey. And some of this has to do a lot with how menopause affects us in our journey. But a lot of it also has to do about how we view ourselves, how we see our identity today, and how can we, make breakthroughs in order to turn that perspective around, shift the mindset on how we view ourselves, so that we're having this internal dialogue with ourselves. How can we turn that dialogue around so that we can start bringing forward your positive, great attributes, start creating a new identity for yourself that brings balance, and so that you can actually start seeing a future ahead of you, that menopause is not the end all of everything for you, that you still have a life. You have a wonderful life, and you just need to realize that life is out there for you, and be open to receive it.
Absolutely. And just to kind of put this in context so that our audience can, maybe relate to what we're talking about on a more personal level, I wanted to share just a couple of stories from women of what they're going through at this time. And, as you're listening to this, maybe I suggest close your eyes and just kind of, feel into what these women are experiencing. And if it sounds familiar, then you're definitely in the right place. I want to talk about Michelle. She used to take her health for granted. She was active. She was always on the go. And she really rarely ever thought about the possibility of ever getting sick. But now she's 52 and her body feels like a ticking time bomb. Every ache, every pain, it sends her spiraling into anxiety. She's convinced that each symptom is a sign of something really terrible, something catastrophic going to happen to her body. And for her, she says the nights are the hardest. She's lying in bed. Her mind races with thoughts of sickness and dying. She worries and just all the time about leaving her family behind, about her family having to continue on without a mom, without a grandmother. And that fear she's finding is like paralyzing. It's making it hard for her to enjoy the moments that she has right now in front of her. And she says she feels trapped in a cycle of fear. She's unable to see a way out. She feels like a prisoner in her own body. She's constantly fearing the worst, and she's unable to find peace. So that's just one story. I want to share one more real quick. I want to talk about Karen, who she is 48 years old, and she's always been the caretaker of her family. She's the one everyone relies on. She's the glue that holds everything together. And recently, she's gripped by an overwhelming fear of her own mortality. Every doctor's appointment is a source of terror. Every test result is a potential death sentence in her mind, even if it hasn't happened yet. That's what she's afraid of. And again, the thought of dying, leaving her loved ones behind is just unbearable. She's worried about her husband managing life without her. And all of this fear is consuming her. It's overshadowing the joy of being with her family. Her days are filled with dread. She anxiously waits for the next health scare. And the weight of these fears is crushing. And it just really makes her feel isolated and powerless. Robin, when you hear those women's stories, like, what do you feel in your body with that?
Well, everybody carries fear a little bit differently. When I get into fear, I can feel it in my chest.
Mhm.
My chest is tightened, my stomach is hurting, I'm carrying stress in my shoulders and in my back. And that stress just it just wipes me out.
Mhm.
It circles in my brain. I go over and over and over all these different scenarios in my brain that haven't even happened, but I'm, projecting them on my mind's eye. So that's like, oh my gosh, my husband's going to die and my kids will be left without anything. Well, that hasn't happened. And but yet I'm projecting that because this is my fear and I'm living in my fearful place.
Exactly. And like you said, that tightness, you could feel it. I mean, this is just words. This is me even telling, other women's stories. But imagine that we're all going around that tight, that constricted, the stress on the shoulders and everything. We feel very closed off, like we want to put our armor up. I mean, even just talking about this, I'm tightening up, but it's really hard, isn't it, to make good decisions or even think of possibilities and think of any kind of positive outcome or joy, or hopeful when we're physically feeling that way. And most of us aren't even aware, but a lot of us go through that day by day. That's just our normal. That's just the way we're showing up in the world. And that's how we're reacting to what's going on around us. Yeah.
And you put your physical menopause symptoms on top of
Mhm.
that, and you just feel like you're this big emotional physical there, and it's like, how do I dig myself out of that? How do I get back to a healthy place where my thinking is healthy, where my body is healthy, and I have found that balance,
Mhm.
and that's the person that I want to get back to so that I can be in my family again, or in my friend circle, or doing healthy things, or living a healthy productive life future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a sort of saying that goes around, and I'm not quoting it right, but the constant worry about our future robs us of the joys of today. And most of us go through this. I mean, not only are our bodies changing, right? And everything feels weird, and so, there's pains and aches and new things happening every day that are just different. We're not used to feeling it. And it's a lot of it's uncomfortable and it's unnerving. And then so we have that going on. And then maybe we're tired and our emotions are all over the place. So we're having that on us. And then we go and we go out onto the news sites or onto social media, and we're getting all bombarded by all of these messages about how we should be or what we should want and what we should look like, how we should be handling this. And it's just coming from everywhere. And
It's overwhelming.
it is overwhelming and it can be very, very disempowering. So we're in that space, and yet we still have a whole life ahead of us.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of women are like, I can't even, I'm dealing with this happening to me right now. I don't know how to even get out of this where I can even dream of a life of that's full of love and joy and fun and excitement or contentedness, or even just down to the bare minimum of peace and calm and less drama when we're in that space. So it's important right now to kind of take stock of how we're really feeling about things.
Mhm.
What we're wanting to do when we talk about how we feel about things is what can we do to relax, get out of that constricted, tight, gloom and doom. I say energy, but it's a mindset or a reality that we have. Because when we're in that space, when we're in that thing, we are not only are we hunkered down and we've got our guard up and our walls up and our armor up. When we're doing that, we're blocking in. We're blocking. Like we're trying to protect from like all of the onslaught of stuff that gets thrown at us. But what we're also doing is shutting ourselves off from opportunities,
Yeah, opportunities.
a
And
shift of perspective, new ideas, or a reframe of a thought that might just be like, oh, okay, well, just a slight different way of we look at things that could help us open up and feel a different way. So when we talk about taking stock of how we're feeling, like I really mean it. Like when I told you those stories and we check in with our gut of how we feel, that's a physical thing. That's blocking off the good stuff. We're trying to protect it, and it doesn't protect us against anything.
yeah,
We think that we're protecting against the onslaught of the unknown. And we can never know that, can we? We cannot predict the future.
right. We can't predict the future, but what we can do is control today and what is going on with us at this very moment, because this is the present.
Yeah.
And the present
Yeah.
today is a gift. And we should be able to press into that gift.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean that you have to walk around like Mary Sunshine all day long, enjoying your gift. But what it does mean is that you get to choose how you're feeling. You get to choose what thoughts are going through your mind. You get to choose how you show up in the world.
Mhm.
Okay. And you might say, oh, it's the weight of the world. It's just way too much on me. I have way too many responsibilities. All I want to do is just crawl into bed and pull the covers up over my head and just cry it out till tomorrow. Well, okay, I understand that. I've been there, believe me, and we all have. But also, that is a choice too. But you have to ask yourself, what is going on inside, internally? Where is the awareness, shining that light inside to say, where is this coming from? How can I untangle this ball of yarn that is surrounding me, unlock these chains so that I can lighten up, and what is it that I have to do? Well, I will tell you that there's no one simple answer, but what there is a process, and there are steps that you can start doing for yourself, that you don't have to stay living in this condition, this emotional bondage that is holding you back from living your best life. Part of it starts with just being aware of what's going on in here. What are you thinking? What's this dialogue that's going on in your mind and your heart and your soul? Okay. And we have been having dialogues with ourselves for a long time. So you may not recognize that you're having these negative dialogues with yourself. And so the first step is awareness. It's to tune in to what you're telling yourself. Okay. And once you can start shining a light, you can go, wow, coming from? Okay. Am I just having regrets from the past that I didn't make better decisions or choices? Is this an old belief system from a fear of when I was a child or a young person that, getting old, if I get old, I'm just going to not be productive, not be responsible. Everybody's going to leave me. All the worries about the financial worries, all these burdens. Now, that's coming from a fear from our past, and that's holding us in. And fears and old belief systems will hold you like right here. And it's hard to see out past that because your belief system, your mindset right here wants to keep you right here, right? So the first step is just becoming aware that this is happening, okay? And then the next thing is Start looking at what those old belief systems are coming from, right? Because it's something in your past that you went through, and it's maybe a trauma, or it's maybe something that was there to protect you when you were a child or young adults. But today, that belief system doesn't serve you anymore, and it's hurting you.
Exactly. And one of these things with these obstacles and with these beliefs, oftentimes they're not even ours. For example, my mother grew up very, very, very poor. And even though married to my dad, money wasn't a big concern because we were better off than her parents were. She still brought that in. I was in my 30s when I had to sit down and take a look at it. I was worried about money, and I had to take a good hard look at where is that coming from? And is that mine? Because I look back at my life up until that point, and I never had that real big concern about money that my mother did. Like, it was catastrophic for her. So it occurred to me that, okay, when I look back at the evidence over the 30 years of my life, everything that worked, I've always had everything I needed, and mostly things that I wanted. I was able to make it work. I was able to pay the bills. I was able to figure that out. And it wasn't a big fear the way my mother had. And so it occurred to me that that was my mom's fear push on to me. So what I had to do is sit down and, like I just said, go through all the evidence of times that that was not true. And versus with hers, I mean, literally, she didn't have shoes, and separate that out. Is that always true? For me, no. And in fact, it hasn't been. For some reason, I've always been able to work it out. I've always been able to dig myself out of whatever financial hole that I may have fallen into, or even be in a place where I didn't have to worry nearly as much as she did. And that's a long way of coming around to saying it's important to take a look at that, because is that true really for me? What else
And
could be true, right?
well, and also too, I mean, that's a very good point, because what happens is that dialogue is stuck from the belief of your mother, and it's swirling around in your head because that's brought in, that was taught to you as a child, scarcity,
Yeah,
right? And so when we start looking at what our inner critic is speaking into our mind, is that really your voice, or is that something that you heard when you were a kid? It could come from teachers, it could come from parents, it could come from grandparents, it could come from friends. Every once in a while, you'll have a flashback or a memory, and maybe at the time you were going through maybe something that was, say, physically abusive. Okay, well, you learned how to protect yourself,
yeah,
right? But today, as an adult, you're no longer in danger, but there are certain triggers that will always bring that up for you.
absolutely.
But the biggest thing is this is learning how to recognize that. And then once you learn how to recognize that, how do you turn that around? How do you break out of that so that old negative behavior doesn't continue to rule your life? Right.
Exactly. I know for me, the first place I like to start is looking into the future is like, where do we want to go? Who do we want to be? How do we want to feel? What is the story that we're creating? And for a lot of women, that feels, like I said earlier, it feels impossible. It feels difficult because they're so mired down in what's the yuck that's happening today that they can't see that. But I find that that's very, very important, because it's like a direction that we're heading, right? It's like a destination on a map of where do we want to go? How do I want to feel? What kind of a life do I want to be living? Do I want to be helping women in my role as business? Do I want to feel fit and fabulous and be in the best health I could possibly be? That's a destination on the map. And if I'm not there yet, and I know for a lot of women that can even feel like such a daunting task, it's like almost feels difficult or impossible because they're so mired down in the yucky feelings of their present situation. But it's important to imagine, to think ahead. Not that you're necessarily going to absolutely hit that, but it gives you a direction to go. And so when we talk about our identity, like, who do we need to be? What obstacles are in our way then that we perceive from being where we are today to where we want to be? And so for some of us, it might be, I just want to stop with the hot flashes. I want to get my energy back. I want to stop feeling aches and pains. Okay, that's very valid. What needs to happen then? Do we need to look at your health? Do you need to work with a medical doctor, a provider to feel better? Okay. And then if it's like, well, I want to start this new business and I want to help all these people and I want to enjoy my life. Okay. What's standing in your way? Well, I'm too old, or I don't feel good about myself. That's going to require me to go out and network and I don't like the way I look. Okay. What needs to happen to get you to the point where you feel comfortable doing that? That kind of thing. Don't you agree, Robin?
Yeah, that is part of our choices that we get to make and how we get to show up. I wanted to go back a little bit to identity. The stories that we tell ourselves develop our identity. Okay.
Yes.
When I think about my identity, I'm a life coach, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I am a partner, I'm a friend. Okay. This is how I choose to look at my identity of who I am. Okay. And the things that we tell ourselves support that identity. And that comes back into limiting belief systems. Back to Marti's point, which is when you stop and think about what it is that you want to be in the future, how do you want your identity to look? This is a place where you're shining a light and you're doing that internal work. Mm-hmm. If you have a lot of fears of, loneliness, depression, anxiety, worry, okay, that eventually that's showing up in your identity today, but that doesn't have to be your identity tomorrow. But a big part of it is looking at identifying where you want to be so that you can see where you're at. You got to have a point of where to start. And you also have to have a vision of where you want to be in the future so that you know what kind of work you got to do in order to get there. You have to have a map, so to speak.
Right. And kind of going back to the stories, the beliefs and the fears and all of that inner dialogue coming part of our identity. Here I am, 51 years old, and going back to like influencers and authority figures and celebrities. And they're like, oh, well, your face should look a certain way. You should have a certain figure. All of these things that other people are telling you your identity should be. And so when we're not aligned with that, or we fall outside of that, then that just adds to the distress, doesn't it? Just adds to the, oh, well, I'm supposed to be this size. I'm supposed to want this. I'm supposed to be this way. So when we come back to this roadmap of like obstacles, okay, well, let's take a look at that. Let's just break it back down to, let's say that a woman wants to clean up her health, which is very important, clean up her diet, move her body for health, to help herself feel better. We got to break that down. Okay, so what needs to happen? And what is the obstacle in your way of getting there? Well, is it, you don't know what to do? Okay, well, where can you go? Where can you go to get help? Or is it a question of reading a book? Or is it a question of like, well, I want to get help in this area, but I don't have the money to pay anybody and I don't want to pay anybody and I shouldn't have to. Okay, what other ways can we go? Do you want to take the time of learning and researching and reading and trial and error to figure it out on your own, taking a lot of time to do that? Some people do that and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us are on a lifetime journey to figure this stuff out. And then there's also people who are like, you know what? I want to feel better as quickly as possible. And it's worth it to me to seek out people who know what to do and can help guide me on that path so I can get there faster, almost like a fast pass at the amusement park, right? Like I'm going to get there faster. But that's something we need to step back and look at. Like, okay, well, here's where I am. And here's where I want to go. What is standing between here and there and what needs to happen? And I feel, Robin, and I know you've seen this too, I see a lot that women are just like, well, what can I take? What can I do? Is there just like a quick fix for this? What antidepressant do I need to get on? What hormone do I need to take? What supplement do I need to take? That's going to solve all of this.
There is no one magic bullet to do it. Marti, that's a very good point. Breaking down the mountain into bite-sized pieces, like the old saying is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
One bite at a time.
Yeah. Well, that's how we have to view our life, is looking at, okay, what is stressing me out? Why am I so lonely? What's causing me depression? And then take it to the next step. It's like, okay, I'm depressed because, and you fill in the blank. I'm depressed because I don't have a job. I'm depressed because I have all this weight on me. I'm depressed because I have hot flashes. I'm depressed because I don't have any friends, or I'm lonely, or work is terrible. So all these things that you're telling me or telling yourself in your head, these are the things that you have to take out and put into the light, shake them out. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm depressed because I'm overweight, what can I do to change that? Small steps, small steps. It all comes down to small steps every single day. Well, okay, so you're going to clean up your diet. You're going to say no to the second helping. You're going to drink more water. So there's always steps that you can take one piece of something that's in your life and you can gain control over it. And once you start having a small success, that success is contagious. And that success goes, okay, well, I did this today. I can do a little bit more tomorrow. Okay. And so once we start on that trip of having some successes and actually starting to see we can move the dial on our depression or our negative self-talk or our worry or all these emotions that are running around. And it could be even the physical things too, as well, because it is a balancing act between your physical, your emotional, your heart, your spiritual, your connection to your life. And that may seem like really overwhelming, but when you take one piece at a time and just be able to start, the first step is to start talking to yourself positively. Encourage yourself. Say it out loud. Stand in front of the mirror and say, you're a good looking girl and I love you and you sparkle today. And I'm going to choose to say positive things out of my mouth today. A positive affirmation. I am loved. I am happy. And happiness has a scale on it. You don't have to be overjoyed, every single second of the day, but you can start understanding what it means to feel happy again. Where's that joy? Where's that peace? What gave you that joy and that peace, right? Go back to some basics. Okay. If taking 10 minutes in the morning, having your cup of tea, saying a meditation or a prayer sets your day, do that. That's just a little thing that you can do for yourself, self-care. And then, the rest comes with time.
And adding on to that, our hormones are changing. Yes. And that in and of itself has a big impact on our emotions. We've spent a lot of time, a lot of us just stuffing all this stuff down and just going on, just keeping on. And this is the time that all this stuff is coming back up for us to look at. And I think a lot of women get really frightened of that or distressed by that. It's like, I thought I dealt with this already, or why all of a sudden am I thinking about this thing? It's part of the shift. And it's also a sign. I always say it's a good time to start letting that go, to let that leave you because you don't need it anymore. I always believe that if it comes up, if it's something that's coming up again, okay, it's time to let it go. Time to release that. And there are ways to do that. Some things may be harder to let go of than others, and that's okay too. And another thing I want to say, as far as, having control over everything, we're not always going to be in control of everything that happens to us, especially with our bodies, with our hormones changing, we cannot control that. But what we can do is get ourselves to a place where we're open to accepting or dealing with what is coming from a place of power, from a place of openness, because again, coming back to my analogy of like, we're shut down, we're worried about all of this stuff coming at us that is out of our control. It feels very disempowering. It feels very like we're at the mercy, or we're a victim of circumstance. We're a victim of what's happening to us. If you're feeling that way, you're not wrong. I mean, we're often conditioned to be that way. But what I'm suggesting, and what I believe Robin is suggesting too, is we can get ourselves to a place of being open to everything, the good and the bad, but being able to know that when the stuff comes in that's not so good, that's not so great, that's not so fun, knowing that we can handle that as well, versus, being afraid for any of it to come in. Because if we block all that stuff out to make sure that doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. The arrows are still going to come at us. But if we're open to experiencing the joy, if we're open to experiencing the hopefulness and the good stuff, then we can manage a little better and change our perspective when the arrows come.
I think we have to, kind of step out of our own way and realize that, give ourselves permission to be human. Okay. And try and look at things more in a positive light, because yes, you're going to have those arrows coming at you, but you get to choose how you get to handle that, right? Part of rebuilding your identity or doing a mind shift is that, number one, being aware of what's going on in here and in here. Okay. And then number two, building a path forward with small goals so that you can start changing habits. Okay. And changing habits doesn't happen overnight. They say it takes, at least 20 to 30 days to change a habit, right? But it also too, what goes along with changing habit is changing your mindset, and so changing your mindset means that instead of saying, I can't do this, say, how can I do this? That is a more positive statement. And maybe the answer isn't coming, but at least you're open to when the answer does come.
Right. I know a lot of women are probably listening to this and they're thinking, well, that sounds great and everything, but I think I'm doing that, but there's like a disconnect because I know that I'm strong. I know that this is a normal part of life. I know that I need to be embracing the joy and not be so worried about all this stuff. And they connect with it logically and consciously. And I'm going to say, as a hypnotist, I deal with the subconscious mind, which is all emotion. Logic will take us so far. And it's very helpful. I mean, a lot of people, that's all they need. And they're like, okay, that's a great way to shift my mindset, my way of thinking, and that's working for me. And then there's going to be some people that are like, well, I think that, I mean, logically, I know that, but there's something that's holding me back. There's that disconnect. And I'm going to say that is the subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is very emotional. And our subconscious mind, its highest purpose is to protect us, to keep us safe. And it has created these beliefs and perceptions of our world around us to keep us safe, to keep us feeling as protected as we can, to bring us joy, to keep us out of harm's way. And so there are times where it's like, I know that I need to do this, but then there's a part of me that just feels like I can't, or like there's something that's holding me back. And if that happens, that's when we need to go in deeper and get into what these emotions are and what we're feeling. We are feeling our way through life. And what is the deeper work that can be done? Because once the subconscious mind gets an idea or a thought or something new that feels better, and the subconscious mind can on an emotional level connect with, that is a safer way for me to go. That is going to give me more bang for the buck than what I'm doing now. Then the change is very quick. And it feels a lot better, but the subconscious mind, it has to be convinced on a feeling level. And it's not a logical thing. You can say it 1,000 times, do this, feel that you need to do this. But until the subconscious mind latches on and you have its buy-in, change is going to be really, really difficult. And so what that looks like then is there's definitely techniques to do. And again, sometimes you can do this, maybe just writing it out and letting yourself feel it and let those feelings come up. And as they come up, cry, just release them out and let them go. Sometimes that might be all we need. But sometimes things are deeper buried, especially when we have a whole lot of things, like a whole ball of yarn that we're trying to untangle. It might take a little bit of going inward to understand what that feeling is and why your subconscious mind is reacting that way and why it feels that way in order to get it to switch. The reason that this is so important is it feels like a lot of work, and a lot of people like, again, I don't want to do this. I just want to take a pill, or I'm sure the HRT will work, or I'm sure an antidepressant will get me through this. And I'm here to say those can help, but there's only so far that can go, right? And if we're working out and we're doing all the things we should be doing, and yet we still don't feel good about ourselves, we're not likely to keep doing it. Even just stress and anxiety alone, as we know, that impacts our hormones. When we're constantly in that state of fear, constantly in that state of anxiety, our cortisol levels rise and our body's going to use that cortisol. That's the most important thing. So, okay, then we can take hormone replacement, which definitely helps balance that. But what's also going to help that HRT work better is if we're doing the mindset work and we're doing the emotional work, that we're able to give our bodies a break and we're able to bring more calm and relax, then whatever medication, whatever solution we're doing is going to be able to work a whole lot better.
Yes, that's where the balance comes in at between the emotional and the physical. That's why Marti and I, we do these podcasts is because we want our women, our listeners, to be able to be well informed so that you can make these good decisions. I really liked what you said about the cleaning out the emotional, well, I call it cleaning out the emotional closet, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but whenever my mind is working on something, I clean my house. And then by the time I get done cleaning my house, then pretty much I have whatever is, spinning around in my brain pretty much worked out. And I'm not like a one room cleaner. I clean like the whole house, and I'll have cupboards open, closets open. I'll be upstairs, downstairs. I'll come back and then I'll reload the dishwasher or start, another load of wash, or my bed's halfway made. I am just like all over the place. But by the time I have this done, I have this clean house and I'm like, okay, I can sit down and I have closure, right? Well, our emotions are kind of a lot like that, when you're cleaning house. I mean, because your emotions can go all over the place, all over the place. We're women, okay?
Yeah,
We
exactly.
can have hundreds of emotions in just seconds. So it's like herding cats. Our emotions are, they're all over the place and there's no real rhyme or reason. So when you're processing, like Marti said, you got to process these things out. You got to understand where they're coming from. Are these emotions really serving you, or are they something that's left over from the past? And then once you can identify that this is something that my mother used to tell me over and over and over again, and somehow I believe it, but I don't have to believe it right now. I can choose to say, no, that's not real. That's not real in my life. And you can cry it out, you can hug it out, you can talk it out. And this is where taking charge of your emotional state is so important, because it ties very closely in with your physical state too. So we kind of circle back around. If you're living in fear and your shoulders are all crunched up and your stomach and your tightness in your chest, okay, that's coming back to something that's going on in the emotional world realm for you. Okay, so when you start doing that emotional house cleaning, you're going to find that stress is starting to fall off. And you can tell. I mean, just right now, sit up straight, put your shoulders back, feel how good that feels.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, let the world just kind of settle and calm. Sit quietly for a few minutes, listen to what's going on inside of your mind and your heart. And it will tell you, because it'll start circling around, right? And when it does, get that thing by its tail and say, what's going on with that kitty cat? And make it meow.
Exactly. And for anybody who may be like wondering, like, well, oh gosh, I don't even want to deal in the past. I don't want to go back that way. You don't always have to do that either. Sometimes I know for me, it's enough. If I feel it, I just like acknowledge, like, okay, something's coming through me, and let myself feel it for a few minutes, let the tears come. Maybe I know what it's about, and maybe it's a thought or a memory or something. And I just acknowledge it and be like, okay, that's coming up. I'm ready to let this go, and let myself cry for, 5-10 minutes, and then let it pass. And I've said this before, I imagine it like releasing like a sheet of emotion up into the atmosphere. Okay. I didn't necessarily have to go back and delve into it and all the whys and whats and whatever went wrong or what that was for. Sometimes it's as simple as that. And sometimes it's not. And sometimes we can sit here and be like, well, I don't know what this is about. And that's okay, because there are people who can help you figure that out. There are ways. Hypnosis is an excellent tool to calm the mind down, the logical mind, the one that's judgmental and the one that's trying to think and connect the dots. That has its place. And if that's not doing it for you, then we bypass that logical thinking conscious mind and get down into the emotions, get back down into actually examining these connections of like, well, what's that about? What's that feeling? What's that mean to me? What would it feel like within to feel something different? And when you're on those deeper, more relaxed and open levels of consciousness, it's actually very simple to do and to make those connections and basically change your your neural pathways and rewire the brain and the emotional level on that way. There's so many different ways to go about doing this. But the thing that we want to avoid is being so afraid of our emotions and so afraid and get freaked out every time we cry or we have that rage or we're frightened and beat ourselves up more for the fear, when there's very real reasons why we have that. And there's reasons why it's coming up for us now. And like you said, Robin, we have a choice of letting it continue to take us down and stall us out and keep us stuck in discomfort and distress and making our menopause journey that much harder, or say, okay, you know what? In addition to the physical stuff that's going on, there's some emotional stuff going on too. And let me work through that and, seeking out, there's paths to go down on your own if you're already inclined to do that. And if you need help, like I said, the fast pass at the amusement park, there are people who've seen this before and can, like myself and like with Robin, they can help you work through that. Going along with what you said, Robin, as we're wrapping this up, just putting your shoulders back and taking that deep breath, and of how good that feels. I want to go back to the stories. We started with stories of pain and sorrow and the yuck that the women are in, but let's talk about what it feels like to be out of it. And so, like before, as I share a couple of these stories, pay attention to how you feel in your body. Let's talk about Laura. She was once felt betrayed by her body, but she took steps to reclaim her life and her health. She consulted with a holistic health coach. She made some changes to her diet and her exercise, and started focusing more on her mental well-being. And now at 55, she feels better than she has in years. She's enjoying every step of her daily walks. She's learned to listen to her body. She gives it what it needs to thrive. The fear of being sick or any illness popping up is no longer dominating her thoughts. Instead, she's filled with a zest for life and determination to make the most of every day. That's her story. Meanwhile, there's another woman, Nancy. She used to be afraid of leaving her children or family behind. She's made these changes. She's able to live a life of contentment and joy, spending quality time with her grandchildren, creating memories that she once feared she'd never get to make. Anxiety's gone away, replaced by confidence in her ability to face whatever comes. She feels like she has the power to take control and enjoy the peace that comes along with living in the moment. Like Robin, I don't know about you, when I even just sharing that story, I feel more open. I feel more relaxed. That lets the light in.
Well, it gives you a sense of hope that you can take control of your life physically and emotionally, and you can change that vibration that you live in. It's like opening up the curtains and letting the sunlight in. And we're just here to share and give hope to women that feel very hopeless. These are things that Marti and we're practicing them. Do we get it perfect every day? No. Do we yell, we scream, we cry, we have all those emotions? Yes. But the thing about it is that every day we know that today is a gift, that we are working forward. And even if we take 2 steps forward and 4 steps back, 2 steps forward, we're still making progress. We're still moving. And that's what I feel like, the message is. That's what I tell my clients. I help them to develop tools in their toolbox of life, so that if one thing isn't working, then something else is. Okay, so if you're stuck, maybe try doing some journaling, maybe do some talk therapy with a life coach, maybe get out and move and do exercising. If you want to get onto HRTs, or if you want to try Botox, there's so much that you have, so many choices and so many options. And I think we get so stuck that we think that there's just no way out of it, when really what we're here to remind you is that, yes, there are a lot of ways out of it. Sometimes they're just baby steps. Sometimes it's just going out and saying, I'm going to take the next 10 minutes and go outside and breathe some fresh air and change my mindset. And then I can go back in and I can deal with whatever is in front of me at the moment, So these are tools that I teach my clients as we go along through coaching sessions. I have a talk therapy session that it's amazing, because what it does is it allows you to get everything that's in here out on the table. And when you can hear it, then you can go, wow. Number one, that just takes that off your shoulders. And then number two, it says, well, now how can I change that? What are my options? Where can I go from here? And you can make changes just from getting out the junk that's spinning around in your head by talking about it. That's just one therapy. That's just one thing that you can do. But there's so many. I think one of the things that Marti and I, since we've been doing the podcast, we have been learning about so many things. We've had amazing women on our podcast, and they talk about everything from libido to hot flashes to wellness to supplements. They talk about coaching. We talk about mindset. We talk about how to talk to your doctor. We talk to care providers that are in other countries. And this is all, we do this because we want you to know that you're number one, you're not alone. Number two, that there are people here in this group that can help you, can give you information, can give you hope, can work with you to overcome what it is that you want. Sometimes it's just a conversation. It's like, okay, well, let's kind of clear that board, clear the clutter, and find a path forward. Because the path forward is going to start, you're going to start seeing that new future, and you're going to start seeing that new you. You're going to start identifying who you want to be in the future and how you want to show up. So these are the things, and this is why we do it, because we have a passion for helping women.
Absolutely. Same here. I agree 100%, Robin. And my goal too is help women to actually experience what it feels like to go from that shut down, fear, constricted feeling, and then shifting into and going through, like we've been talking about, going through the obstacles, going through the beliefs, going through the memories, and sorting through those. But as we're doing that, shifting the way we feel and bringing in those emotions that are more expansive, that are more open, and that are more empowering to help us thrive for the next 30, 40, 50 years of our life. And I second everything Robin said. We're working with some amazing women. So my encouragement to you, all of you listening, is if there's one of us that, whether Robin, myself, or any of the other providers that we have been speaking to, and you feel like you resonate with, we're here to help. Reach out to us. You can reach out to me. My email address is Marti, MARTI, at martidaily, which is right here, .com, or you can go to martidaily.com, and there's a 45-minute training webinar masterclass that talks about more about this more in depth and puts some more examples in there. I encourage you to go out there. Robin, you can share yours too.
Thanks, Marti. Yes, I have a free talk session for new clients. It helps them to understand what's going on, and focus on what they want to change, and set steps in order to start making that happen. You can reach me at robinduke62@gmail.com. And that's Robin, ROBIN, Duke, DUKE 62@gmail.com. And I will be happy to set up an appointment with you, Zoom talk over the phone, text. It's just up to you to reach out, just take that first step. And any of our care providers, we all have different ways of helping. It's just up to you how you want to start getting that help that you need and deserve.
Which you absolutely do deserve. And I love that you said that. You deserve to live the best life. And so don't have to circle in despair or feel like it's hopeless, because it's not. And we can help you do that. So thank you so much, Robin. And to everyone who's watching, if there's something you're struggling with, like we said, reach out to us or drop it in the comments. Or if you like what we're saying, or if you have feedback, we like to see that as well. So drop us a comment, send us an email. You can subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Let us know you're out there, and let us know what you want to hear from us next, how we can support you, because that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Marti.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for joining us in the Menowave Lounge. If you'd like to connect with Marti, Robin, our guests, or any of our expert Menowave care providers for personalized advice and support, head on over to our website at menowave.org and fill out an assessment that will match you with a provider who knows just how to help. Remember, you don't have to face menopause alone. Our team is here to provide the guidance and care you deserve. So, take that step towards reclaiming your well-being and connect with a Menowave care provider today. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Menowave Lounge, Hot Flashes and Cool Conversations.